The story goes on, my friends, and Rodney's luck just never ends. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, I'm the Cowhat Librarian, and I'm here today to talk to you about How to Beat the Bully Without Really Trying by the very talented Scott Starkey. I stumbled onto this book a few years ago. It's a few years old at this point. It came out much earlier in the decade, and I really enjoyed the story and thought it would be a good one to talk about. So, Rodney, the small-statured kid being held up on the shoulders of others, has moved to a new school. He was bullied mercilessly at his old school, and he's looking forward to making a fresh start. Unfortunately, on his very first day, he meets Josh, the biggest bully of his new school, and Josh gives him two choices: a black eye or a bloody nose. So later in the day, Josh catches up to Rodney at one of the school's fields, and he's about to hurt Rodney when all of a sudden a bunch of jets fly by overhead. Every kid surrounding them waiting for the fight is distracted and looks up. Josh is distracted and looks up, and that means Rodney is the only one who sees what actually happened. In a nearby field, the high school boys were playing a game of baseball, and one player hit a home run right into Josh's head. Josh hits the ground, and when everyone looks down from the jet, they see Rodney standing over the fallen bully. Obviously, everyone thinks he's the school's hero. He knocked out the bad bully that no one else could. And it gives Rodney some respect and notoriety, and it seems pretty great for a while. Until it doesn't. You see, a few days later, Rodney is playing football with his friends in a vacant lot near some property belonging to the McThug brothers. They're a trio of dangerous brothers in their 20s who are mean and nasty and violent. And one of Josh's friends happens by the football game and grabs the football and throws it into the yard that belongs to the McThugs. And everyone encourages Rodney to go get the ball. So Rodney climbs over the fence and sneaks through the yard and recovers the football, and the McThug brothers see him. They chase after him. He dodges around the different rusty vehicles and other obstacles in their yard. He runs towards their fence, and there's no time to climb it with them on his tail. He sees the gate nearby, but it's locked. So Rodney lowers his shoulder, charges into the gate at full tilt, breaks it open, and in the process knocks over the world's largest wasp nest. The wasps come spilling out of the nest, sting the McThug brothers mercilessly, and all the other kids see is Rodney emerging triumphantly and the McThugs howling in pain. And so the pattern continues. Rodney's growing fame and notoriety gain him even more respect from his classmates, but it also makes them inclined to put him in other dangerous situations that they aren't willing to risk. Is there a haunted mansion at Halloween? Well, Rodney should go explore it. Is there the world's most dangerous sledding hill in their neighborhood? Well, Rodney should go down it. And somehow he keeps surviving these antics. And by the end of the book, he's overcome all these obstacles in his path, but he has to deal with the biggest obstacle of all, the biggest bully of them all, his teacher, Mrs. Lutzkraut. This book is fantastic. It is full of ridiculous antics and coincidences, and it's just believable enough to make it compelling. Rodney whiplashes from coward to seeming hero in the eyes of his classmates. He barely escapes these various problems in very believable ways, and he was delightful. It was great to see a protagonist who is, quite honestly, like many of us, scared of a bully and still finding ways to deal with it. And it was great. Scott Starkey also wrote 2 sequels, and the The second one was fine. Rodney ends up at a summer camp, thanks to his teacher, Mrs. Lutzkraut, where the school bully is also attending. But Scott Starkey introduces a new bully in that book, and the tone of it shifts slightly. It's good. It's fine. I'd recommend it as a follow-up to anyone who enjoyed this book. But it wasn't quite as interesting. And the third one, to be perfectly honest, I cannot remember for the life of me whether I've gotten around to reading it or not. I know it exists, and I know my library has it, but I can't remember if I've actually gotten around to reading it. It may be on my future to-read list once I'm finished what I'm currently reading. With that said, I do have to talk about a very, very minor deal breaker. So, while I loved this book, and I thought most of it was very, very real, and I liked how Rodney handled things, I felt like Scott Starkey was being a little too clever with some of the naming puns. At the end, when they're talking about the camp Rodney will be going to, the camp is called Why Me? And when Rodney's dealing with a man dating his aunt and not being a very nice person, his name is Sir Snottingham. And I'm not joking about it. It's just a little ridiculous. I know the story is written from Rodney's point of view, and so he might internally nickname these people those names, or the camp that name, and it could be a small example of Starkey trying to make Rodney into a slightly biased narrator in that regard, but it felt a little silly. The book didn't need that. It's not like he named Mrs. Lutzkraut Mrs. Angry Teacher. At any rate, that's it for How to Beat the Bully Without Really Trying. I highly recommend it if you have a reader in your life who enjoys books about cowardly characters, books about people overcoming the bullies in their lives. If you have anyone who liked something like How to Eat Fried Worms, even, I think they'd enjoy this quite a bit. I highly recommend borrowing it from your local library. With that, thanks for watching. And please be sure to like and subscribe to see what else is coming from the Cow Hat Library. Thanks. Bye now.